Let's start with the significance of this day. It was on this day, of course, 66 years ago, when more than 20,000 women marched to Pretoria. They had one message to tell then Prime Minister under apartheid that they refused to carry the Dompas anymore. Many of them faced various obstacles to getting to Pretoria. Some were even turned back by the police at the time, sent back to their homes, and they were not able to even partake in the march. But 20,000 women are also, in fact, managed to make their way to the union buildings, to make their voices heard. Some of them had babies on their backs. Others were really resolute that they wanted to make this message to come across quite strongly. And when one looks at where we are right now, as South Africa commemorates Women's Day, gender-based violence is the plague that continues to really overshadow this particular day. You think back to almost 2 weeks ago, where we saw the devastating story, 8 women being raped in the West Rand. It's been described as the shame of the nation by Police Minister Begicele, and yet almost 2 weeks later, no one has been linked to that particular crime. And you also think of the fact that children as young as 13 are bearing children, as activists are saying that it is important to characterize these pregnancies correctly and say that this is in fact rape, and there are not children who are bearing children. At the same time, you look at women in leadership positions. While more women have made strides to get into leadership positions, the issues around the challenges that they're facing when they get to some of these particular positions, some of them saying that they're doing the same jobs as their male counterparts, but they're not getting the same kind of remuneration at the end of the month. And also you look at the gender gaps and inequality. You take, for example, even some of those women that talk about the difficulties that they had to endure during the pandemic and how disproportionate things were for them, and nobody really understood just how much of the brunt that was borne by women when it comes to COVID-19. And you look at inequality, and you look at South Africa being the most unequal society in the world, the face of this has been put as women. You think of the fact that they have to also look after children while trying to also climb the corporate ladder. So there's been quite a lot. And you look at women in sports as well. You think Banyana, for example. We celebrated them when they won WAFCON. But at the same time, there were concerns that they're still not being paid the same salaries as their male counterparts, yet they're doing the same job. So there's quite still a lot of obstacles that are stacked against women as they continue to really better their lives daily. And really, you think of the statistics, for example, saying that nearly 11,000 people were raped. This is between January and March in South Africa. So this is a cloud that continues to hang around and overshadow this year's commemoration, as the president talks about the importance of safety for women, the protection for women, but also to understand their plight, as really understanding it for what it really is.
Well, Bangiwe, it's true, women face many challenges and quite frankly horrors in South Africa, but there are also women out there who are carving out exciting careers in traditionally male-dominated industries, even like mining and engineering. This year's Women's Month is under the theme Women's Socio-Economic Rights and Empowerment, and government is picking up on the concept of generation equality, which is a global campaign, and it links South Africa to efforts to achieve gender parity by 2030. A long way to go, but that is the target. Let's introduce these wonderful women. Chelsea Rebelo is a geoscientist at ROSOND, that is providing drilling technology to the mining industry across Africa. We're also joined by Tshegofatso Sibambato, who's a civil engineer at Zutari. Welcome to you both. Let me start with you, Tshegofatso. I'd love to know firstly why you both chose your fields, and I see that you have said before that you want to be part of building our country. Tell me more.
Yes, definitely. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on the show. One thing that I've learned being in this industry, and I'm grateful to the people I work with at Zutari, is that we need to make the impact or the difference that we want to see. A lot of the things that we see out there that need change, we are the ones that actually have control over how much change actually takes place. With regards to building our country, it's each and every one of our responsibility. We can always criticize, but what are we doing? So I'm choosing to be part of those who build, and I want our country to be great. I am a mother of two, and I want them to live in a country that they can be proud of. So if I can help build it, then I'm on that team.
Yeah, we could all build the country, but you are involved in the actual building. Chelsea, what do you love about drilling and drilling technology?
Well, it's certainly a developing space, and I'm very proud to be a part of ROSOND, which is a forefront leading the way in drilling technology development. So I do believe it's a very exciting space to be in at the moment, most particularly because the technology that's rolling out incorporates a lot of remote control operations, which means we are able to employ women. And it's not too long ago that we deployed our first all-woman drill crew. So really, ROSOND is doing a lot in terms of drilling technology and innovation. And, we aim to change the socio-economic profile of the country in that regard by opening up opportunities that were previously really for men only. And, the technology that we're implementing is opening up opportunities to everyone and hopefully being a part of the big task in this country to close that inequality gap.
That is so interesting. I mean, we're worried about jobs in mining, but you're saying because there's not always that manual drilling anymore, it actually evens the playing field a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. If you talk to some of our drillers, they are finding newfound financial freedom, taking control of their own lives, taking control of their own futures, feeling skilled. ROSOND has skilled these people with the right training to operate these enormous machines. And so it really is changing the landscape in the towns where we operate. And we hope that just creates a ripple effect throughout the rest of the country. It shows, with technology and the right engineers and the right design, everyone should get a chance to at least try for these previously male-dominated jobs.
Tshegofatso, it's often said that in sort of formerly male-dominated fields, sometimes still male-dominated, the bar is often even higher for women because there is a sense that you have to really prove yourself. Just tell me your experiences as you've moved along your career path.
That's a very good question. My experience has been that you do really have to fight for what you know and believe you deserve. Opportunities aren't always handed over to you, and that's why mentoring plays such a significant role in the engineering space. At Zutari, we're fortunate to have a mentorship program, so you are exposed to a variety of mentors who can help you to achieve your career targets or your career goals. And without that support, honestly, it's very difficult. You don't always have insight into what's happening in the organization or possibly even opportunities that are made available. But through creating those networks, through speaking up, you need to ultimately carve your own path. But at the end of the day, you're in control. And whether you're an introvert or not, you actually need to take charge. It's your career at the end of the day. It's your journey. It's your destiny. So the best thing is to just take charge and find mentors who can help you to do that.
Have you had male and female mentors along the way?
Yes, in the technical space, I have had a lot of male mentors. As you previously mentioned, it has been and is still a male-dominated industry. So in the technical field, we still have a lot of males occupying prominent roles, but that is changing, and we are grateful for the inches that we are making through progressing in that space. And I've had the privilege of having female mentors as well. The relationship is also interesting between the two. With females, the level of interaction and communication styles is sometimes different to the males, but the amount of wisdom has been amazing, and I'm learning a lot, and I keep trying to just soak up as much as I can with every single interaction.
Chelsea, how do you feel? Does it still feel in some senses you're a woman in a man's world in sort of mining?
I'd like to steal from Tabile Magala, who is an executive of Implats. And I think she says it best, that it's not male-dominated, it's male-populated. And I think the way we talk about it certainly either opens up the conversation or it closes it up with a bit of tension. So in that view, if we look at it in terms of male-populated, you've got to go into the industry with the approach that you will find allies and you will find people that are not on your side. Certainly, I've had a lot of support at ROSOND, especially with the executive committee. They are very passionate about women in mining, from grassroots, from training people at artisanal level right up to management. So, I've been very fortunate in my journey, but I know it's not the same for everyone. If I think about Women in Mining South Africa, WIMSA, fantastic organization, doing a lot as an NPO, non-profit organization, doing a lot for women in mining South Africa. And just to call on the experiences that we hear about in those forums, there are still barriers for some people, whether overt or unconscious bias that women experience getting ahead, being on the same peer level as a male, but the male getting promoted beyond her. These things are still happening. And obviously, the context that we live in a society with the pandemic of GBV, we have to be very mindful that these things are still happening, and the private sector can do a lot. And mining companies, mining services companies especially, we've got a long way to go, and we need to continue engaging about it, not just in Women's Month on Women's Day. It's part of a culture, the culture shift.
Yeah. You have opened up and said at least one man told you wouldn't make it because you were a woman. So I think you've faced obstacles before, and you say it's different when you're a woman doing technical work. I mean, can you feel that culture shift amongst men, and we're not going to group all men together, but that sort of old guard, as it were, Chelsea?
Certainly, yeah. When I was younger, that did happen to me. And unfortunately, I had a bit of a traumatic event where a male senior told me I wouldn't make it. But it made me tough. And along my journey, I encountered very, very helpful people, men and women included. And, there are a lot of allies for women inclusion and inclusion of more than just women, but people with disabilities and people who can offer, brilliance and intelligence. And I was, you pick them up along the way and you find out who is your ally and who isn't. And I have seen the culture shifting. It is shifting, especially at ROSOND as well. We really taking inclusion and diversity very seriously, opening up how we view things and opening up our hiring practices to different ways of thinking and testing. And certainly the culture is shifting, and the private sector needs to drive this. We need to drive more. We need to show what we will tolerate in our society, and it starts with us in our companies.
I'm glad you mentioned GBV. I'd like to ask you both, do you feel safe as women? Tshegofatso, let me start with you.
To be honest, not always. I think a lot of the news that has flooded our screens in the recent days has been heartbreaking. And being a mother of a girl child, even, you never want to put yourself in a situation where you are compromised, if I can put it that way. So constantly thinking about whether or not what you're doing is exposing you. It's the harsh reality of where we're living and the times that we're living in. There are a lot of males who are there to protect us. There are a lot of males who are there to keep us safe. So we cannot disregard that. And at the same time, we know that as females, you always need to have your guard up. You need to be careful. You can't always feel and be relaxed, especially in situations that are not within the confines of what you have control over.
Yeah. Chelsea?
I've been very fortunate to never have felt unsafe. However, I haven't been exposed to the environments that some other ladies are working in. So in general, yes, I've only been underground maybe 4 times in my life. It was a bit of a harrowing experience. In general, though, I think we've got a long way to go in terms of making sure women have access to places of safety, especially in remote towns where mining activities and engineering activities are happening. But certainly in the underground environment, I think there is more risk for a woman. In surface operations, perhaps less so. And unfortunately, there's only so much we can do to keep women safe. We have to talk about attitude and behavior change as well for the perpetrators.
And culture, our nationwide culture as well. Chelsea, and I'd like to ask you both the same thing. It's often said that women choose sort of the softer fields, and there's nothing wrong with marketing or a field like communication, which we are in. But there's a lack of education, and maybe more women would choose sort of male-dominated industries, if we can call it that, or the sciences, or the engineering fields, if they had more information and they saw more women making it. What's your advice to young women out there thinking about it, Chelsea?
If there are some young women watching and some guardians and parents watching this evening, my advice would be to explore your options. And a university degree isn't the only option to get into the world of mining or engineering. There are trade certificates you can do. There's a whole bunch of avenues into the industry, and explore your options. Look at technical colleges. Do look at universities. The industry needs so many skills, artisanal skills to data science skills to geological skills, financial skills. The industry is enormous, and it's just waiting for new talent. So get onto the internet, Google all the colleges available to you, Google funding schemes if you need, university offerings, and plan your journey. And if you have access to LinkedIn, have a look at what people are out there doing in the country, look at their profiles, look at their journey, and try and make contact with those people if you can. There's certainly a lot of work to be done in South Africa and on this continent. The work's not drying out anytime soon, so there are a lot of opportunities. And it's just about doing your reading and doing your homework.
Yeah. Tshegofatso, let's end with you. What about other women who want to help build South Africa?
The more women, the better, I believe. Diversity brings so much strength. And as much as the industry might be dominated or populated, as Chelsea said, by a specific gender, it's important to remember that every single person has something to bring. At the end of the day, engineering is about identifying a problem and providing a solution to it. So everybody is capable of doing that. If you have a keen interest in the industry, there are a lot of people out there, both male and female, who are doing amazing things. You can follow people on your social media platforms. LinkedIn is a great tool for myself personally, because you can see people's work and their profiles and how they are thought leaders and how they approach certain discussion topics. But if you have the skills and if you have the passion, do it. There is nothing that is impossible. All you need is the right mentorship and support, and you'll be amazed at how, like, the strides that you actually achieve in whichever industry you choose. But we need more females in engineering, and I think that'll just catapult the industry to even greater heights.
All right, well, it's been a privilege to chat to you both. Thank you, and I wish you more and more success. That was geologist at ROSOND, Chelsea Rebelo, and Tshegofatso Sibambato, a civil engineer at Zutari. We take a short break.